Hello everybody and welcome to the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship EU, where we're 4 races now from the conclusion of this great championship. We've travelled from Donington Park last week to Monza here this week, just north of Milan and not too far from the Italian Alps either. This iconic race circuit, the Temple of Speed, is our venue for round 7 of this championship here in Season 3. Long straights and very, very tricky, tight and twisty chicanes will play host to these 2 races. 25 minutes for race 1, then we'll reverse the grid and we'll go racing for double the length of time. 50-minute race coming up later on. My name's Ian O'Leary, I'm alongside Zach Sweeney here for this race, and everybody's going to be worried about turn 1 here. We speak about this all the time, but the rolling start, the way this field will be really packed up and tight together, is going to be a potential disaster in these first couple of corners.
is going to be absolutely crazy, I'm sure, as we do come to expect with Monza. It's certainly something special, whether that's, the history or the track itself or the racing that we can get. But there's absolutely no doubt that lap one and turn one specifically is going to be absolute carnage and chaos, specifically, of course, in that reverse grid race that we were talking about, Ewan, because, of course, the difference in pace and things like that heading down and towards turns one, and obviously different intentions as well. Some people want to take it nice and easy, other people want to send it in nice and deep, which in that conflict will, certainly cause a bit of an upset.
Could well do, and we had a bit of an upset last week, I think it's fair to say, with the championship standings we're about to look at here. The gap between Alex Urenga and Sean Campbell did get that little bit close, or it stays close, I guess you could say at this point. 21 points separate the two of them, and it's becoming more and more of a two-horse race at the moment. Thomas Cope, the only other driver, within 100 points here at this stage, and we're only just over the halfway mark. It really is a two-horse race here in Pro. Alex Urenga, Sean Campbell, both RSR drivers, drive for the same team. So you can be sure that they're going to be careful when battling with each other, but they are still fighting this championship out, as we saw last week. In AM, though, things are a lot closer and arguably a lot more interesting. Only 7 points separate, at the moment, the top three drivers, which are, of course, Jeremy De Boyver, Dean Timms and Ivo Linden at the front at the moment. Timothy Vanderbroek did lose out on a few points last week, and so he dropped back ever so slightly. He's 25 points adrift. Then we've got David Camano, Thomas Pugh and D-Day de Vlamink in the next few positions. They're not separated by very much, but by that point you do get to around 44 points or so off of the top. So I mean, a lot of these drivers, possibly all 10 of these drivers, have got a real chance of actually winning this title. So the AM standings are going to be one to really look out for, and hopefully we'll focus on a little bit more over these final 4 weeks, because it's a really fascinating championship battle.
It really is. The AMs are where all the attention really lies. Alex Urenga and, of course, his teammate Sean Campbell have been so dominant in the pros. Been absolute titans, really. But in the AMs, it's really been shaken up. We saw last time how the pendulum can swing so quickly. One of our championship contenders can win a race, the others can be completely out of it, and then, straight away in the next race, it completely flips on its head, and it's just that topsy-turvy, up and down unpredictability of the championship that we absolutely love to see. And, well, it's not long left at all in this season, as we say, only 4 rounds left to go, and well, it's heating very much up, so close, and as you say, any one of them could win it.
Absolutely. Let's have a quick run through the grid as well here, if we can, before we get going here, because it is going to be an intro. We've split the it's going to be a split field between the pros and the AMs, is what I'm trying to say. So we'll just get the drivers sorted into the right places in terms of our standings, and then we'll get going. We do have a few new drivers that we'll be able to talk about maybe a little bit further down the order, and a few of those drivers who didn't qualify here. So we will hopefully be able to get through all these before we begin. Urenga and Wills on the front row, that's not too much of a surprise. Sean Campbell third, once again, no surprise there either. Stuart Reynolds and Ethan Bass round out the top 5, with Liam Ahern in 6th. Then it's Thomas Cope in 7th, ahead of Dreyer, Pearl and Chatterton running at the top 10. Thomas Dandridge alongside Thomas Reiter on the 6th row. Taylor Lane will be the final driver who qualified through that one. Michael Patterman next, ahead of Albin Sjoberg, and Thomas Pugh rounding out the pro grid. Then in AM, it's going to be Timothy Vanderbroek with that pole position, and he was very quick actually. John Williams second, ahead of Dean Timms. Jeremy De Boyver, championship leader, 4th place, just ahead of championship rival Ivo Linden. Simon Dodd will be 6th, ahead of Dave Vlamink. Then it's going to be Stefan Schuster, Werner S and Timo McKeown in that top 10 position. Dominic Goodsell and David Camano will be 11th and 12th. And then quickly to run through the rest of your grid, it's Navarro, De Boyver, Sastermoinen, Franken, Jensen, Ferrer, Sharks, Bailey, Alexandru, Bailey, and then Slates rounding out the very end of that grid there. So that is your grid. It's a huge one actually. 36 cars have taken the start. Werner S might get going, but he will be starting from the pit lane if he does, and not long to go now until the lights will be out here at Monza. It's going to be Harry Wills versus Alex Urenga, who looks like he's got a new livery on. I don't know if that was a mistake by him, but he's looking a little bit different here today. We're going to have that run down towards turn 1 and 2, a famous run down where chaos can ensue. Let's hope not, but it's going to be on the minds of all of these drivers. Up towards the front straight, the pace car pulls into the pit lane, and it's going to be Alex Urenga once again in control of the field, as he was last week, but it didn't turn out too well. Will he be able to overturn that here with a good run here at Monza? Or will he be stuck rooted to the back of the field? Let's see as the lights go on. R.A.W.S comes in control of the field, and he doesn't wait too long before going. Sean Campbell was very much ready for that as well, and he's going to use the slipstream of his teammate to possibly get up into second place ahead of R.A.W.S. R.A.W.S dives to the racing line into turn 1, where the field just stretches out. Campbell will get into second place, and it's going to be R.A.W.S and Stuart Reynolds. Ethan Bass with a top 5 in the Ford. It's a very nice clean start in the Pro category though.
Absolutely, and here goes the Timothy Van der Broek will lead from pole position. John Williams just behind Dean Timms and Jeremy DeBova. A lot of our championship contenders up right there in the mix. Inside the top 5, you can see Van der Broek leads very, very well from pole position. John Williams as well. Pretty much single file for the top 4 as they run through the Rettifilo for the first time. A little bit of argy-bargy further back, I think, for 5th place, and just trying to find their way through. But really, really clean start, Stu, and not what we usually expect. But yeah, no major things to note of yet, and up into the Pro as well. It's another dominant start for the 2 RSR cars.
I think it does speak to the Pro and Am split, really. The fact that this field is basically split in half, not quite equally, but basically split in half between the 2 categories, really does help out. And I think it certainly has done there. Then again, everybody knows about Monza Turn 1, and maybe they did just take their foot off the gas a little bit and exercise a bit of caution, maybe, going into that first couple of corners. There's Thomas Reiter trying to make some moves here, up the order at the moment. Just getting himself inside that top 10 at the moment with Felix Peel just in that 11th place, just in behind. So that was a nice move into the Ascari chicane, a corner where you don't really see moves made very often, as David Camano is losing places here. By the looks of things, he's got a not particularly great run out of Lesmo 1, and so he's just losing places, and he's still slowing down here. Something's clearly wrong, but it doesn't look like there's any damage to the car.
Could potentially be a slowdown, maybe he went a little bit wide or just a little bit knocked. Of course, it's very, very easy for that to happen. We see 3 abreast down this back straight now. You can see Felix Peel, Dandridge and Albin Kjellberg as well running 3 wide. I think one of them just has to tuck in behind. That's going to be Taylor Lane just tucking in behind, thinking better of it. You can see Felix Peel, the Audi, looking to the left-hand side, not quite going to be able to do so. Goes in deep in towards turn 1. That's going to give him a compromised line for T2 and might actually invite Taylor Lane to nip himself a move down in towards the Roger. But that is the thing, though. You do not want to be fighting amongst these midfield packs. The toe is going to be so crucial. Monza, there's not many corners. There's not much opportunities to make that time up. So staying in the toe, not losing that time, and making sure you're with the pack ahead for, even for a 25-minute race, even for the 50-minute race afterwards, you're going to have to, be right there, because it's so difficult to catch back up.
Liam Ahern there getting through on Ethan Bass as well, by the way. I think that was into the first chicane. Bass thought about coming back at him into the Della Roggia, but in the end did not, and stays behind. But he's doing very well with that Ford GT here at the moment. Ethan Bass has not had the dream season, especially considering his talent he has behind the wheel. 11th place in the standings right now, well inside the top 10 in this race as things stand. So the 15 drivers of the Pro category just making their way ahead of the guys in the AMs, of course, and staying very close together indeed. But it's a different story in AM. Timothy Van der Broek has had a good start here ahead of John Williams, who's qualified really well there. And it's a nice 1-second lead for the BMW driver, trying to reclaim some of those points that he lost out on at Donington Park.
Absolutely, you've got to bounce back. You cannot afford to be having too many bad rounds. Of course, you only get 1 drop round, so you do have to, shrug off any mistakes that you do make and press forward. A little bit of side-by-side action, a little bit further back between Thomas Pugh, Dave Lamanick, and Simon Dodd through the Ascari chicane. I think a couple of people just getting caught out and a little bit shaken. You can see the Ferrari looking to the right-hand side of the Porsche. That Simon Dodd trying to make his places up in towards Parabolica, does so, and up into P7. Doesn't lose too much time in doing so. Still very much in the slipstream of Thomas Pugh in front of him, but still Alex R.A.W.S for Sean Campbell's giving him a good run for his money. That is of course tribute to the toe. Alex R.A.W.S having to look of course into his mirrors to try and keep Sean Campbell at bay, and the top 4 separated by virtually nothing. This could certainly be an interesting fight for the race lead.
It is. I think it's exactly what you mentioned there. The toe is keeping this field together at the moment, and it's making things very interesting indeed. By the way, Jarmo Sustermoinen went off the road at the Parabolica last time around the final corner on this racetrack, and he drops down the order after a good start for Sustermoinen. He's down to 36th now, which is not quite last, because Werner S has got going from the pit lane. However, he's still in that second to last position. It's not great news for him considering the start he had, but these top four just getting away from the rest right now. A gap that was opened by Ethan Bass, of course, in that Ford GT. However, now that Liam Ahern is at the front of the group, it's not really changing either. It's sort of just staying at that 3 seconds and even getting a little bit wider here at this stage as well. Just, by the way, just getting the paints updated for you at the moment. And here we come back with the live action. Alex Urenga didn't select his car incorrectly. We've just had to cycle through our systems again, and we've got the right cars up now. And the RSR guys are clearly up the front of the field, very, very clearly. 1 and 2 right now. Harry Will's giving them a hard time, but I feel like he doesn't really want to make any moves just for the moment. Would rather stay behind, or is he going to make me eat my words here now by going on the outside line? Not quite. He's going to stay behind, and I think that is the more sensible choice with still 20 minutes to go.
Oh, absolutely. You do not want to be making too desperate moves too early on in this race, especially because he's, in P3. If him and Sean Campbell start to fight, we've seen before how quickly trains can grow, as was the case, as you said, with Ethan Bass. That will just allow Urenga to absolutely fly out in front. Maybe that's intentional by Sean Campbell to aid his teammate, but we'll have to wait and see. This is Dean Timms on the back of John Williams trying to get through on the BMW, and then, of course, to chase after Timothy van der Broek and try and limit the amount of points he's been dropped by is Dean Timms. Through turn 2, gets a good run in the slipstream, of course, in that Mercedes. Is typically regarded to as the best car. He's trying to find the gap to the inside of Curva Grande. That's going to be very, very optimistic. For now, has to just sit behind, wait for the opportunity. But the longer he stays behind, the more time Timothy van der Broek has to try and etch his way ahead and grow that gap. So Dean Timms cannot be waiting around for long.
No, he absolutely can't, and he wants to gain some points on Jeremy de Boyver as well, who's just in behind. I also think he's trying to close that gap to Timothy van der Broek, because Van der Broek's certainly a very dangerous driver to let involved in your championship fight, and he's going to want to try and keep him at bay as much as he possibly can here. As we go back up to the leaders in Pro, Liam Ahern, Thomas Cope and Jonas Dreyek almost coming out of Ascari as one at the moment and running down towards Parabolica. That's Cope on the defensive, and Jonas Dreyer makes his way right round the outside using that using that Mercedes power on the straight. And right around the outside through Parabolica. Looks like he's going to make that work. And Liam Ahern's certainly helping out his fellow Mercedes here by giving him some slipstream. I don't think the two are teammates, but the two Mercedes working in tandem there to use a bit of slipstream, and Thomas Cope is going to lose that place.
That just goes to show how powerful the slipstream is. You can see Thomas Cope having to tuck in behind just to then be able to pull back to the right-hand side, not able to go for the move. There's Albin Kjellberg to the inside of the Audi of Thomas Reiter. Does get himself up into P10. Bit of side-by-side as well up front between Sean Campbell and Harry Wills, who is now starting to start the offensive. Of course, started on the front row did Harry Wills, got jumped off the start and wants to try and chase down that race win to the right-hand side over the outside for the Roger. Very difficult move to make. Can he commit? No. He sends Campbell in deep, tries to go for the over and under, not quite going to work. Has he got the run in towards the first of the two Lesmos? Not quite, but he's doing a good thing and maybe trying to keep some pressure on, but in doing so, see, even in that, through turn 2, Curva Grande and the first part of the Roger, Alex Urenga grew a gap of over half a second up in towards the region of 7/10, and when toe is, less than a second, you can't be affording to do that at all.
I mean, I think the damage might already be done there in this group because of that attempt of a move from Harry Wills. Let's go back to Stefan Schuster here and a quick look at what's been going on towards the back of the AM category. A little bit of oversteer for the Audi and straight into the wall at Ascari. Just make sure you get off the racing line there in time, and he has done so. That's good news at least. But yeah, as I say, I feel like the damage is already done here. Alex Urenga might well have just gotten out of the slipstream, or certainly gotten out of the major part of the slipstream here at the moment. And so even if Harry Wills is successful in making his way through now, they've all lost the draft, and surely it's going to be very difficult to get back with Alex Urenga out front.
Might just have to use some slingshot tactics from Harry Wills, maybe to catapult himself past Sean Campbell down the pit straight. You can see Campbell going to the right hand side to defend, Harry Wills to the left to try and launch the offensive. It'll be the long way round. Has he got that car ahead though? Breaks late in towards turn 1, both of them running side by side. Can Harry Wills hang it around the outside? Gives him the inside for turn 2, gets the drive though, does Sean Campbell. Stuart Reynolds just has to sit idle and try and find the gap. Harry Wills not quite with the drive off turn 2 to keep that attack running, and he might end because Stuart Reynolds is right on the rear end of them, bumper to bumper to bumper, a second, third and fourth. Once more Campbell to the defensive line. Harry Wills once more to the outside to attack, and I don't think they're too interested in fighting for the race lead anymore. They just want that second place.
Absolutely. The advantage that Harry Wills now has is that Campbell has got no slipstream at all, and Stuart Reynolds behind is pushing Harry Wills where he can. So you saw Wills not get a great run out of the first chicane there, and you might be wondering how on earth he managed to have a go at the second chicane, but it was mainly down to Stuart Reynolds there, who was pushing Harry Wills, giving him a little bit of assistance through the Curva Grande there, and having another little look up the inside into, or it was the outside eventually, into the Della Roggia chicane, but wasn't able to do it just there. And so now Wills is just going to continue to apply this over the last 15 minutes and try and at least finish in second to Alex Urenga. Let's see, though, as they make their way down towards the Parabolica as well. He's even having a look up the inside here. Don't see moves very often there, but maybe catching Sean Campbell slightly off guard. Very wide from the RSR Lamborghini, but once again, Reynolds is going to get the slipstream of the both of them, and he's going to help out Harry Wills if he gets there. They try and shorten off the distance as much as possible, and Harry Wills does get in front, although he's going to come under fire coming into the first chicane again.
Oh, let's have a look. You can see Stuart Reynolds trying to find the way through. Sean Campbell going to look back to the right-hand side. He'll give him the inside. Can he brake late enough in order to claim the corner? Side by side between the two. Harry Wills back up the inside of turn 2. Is it going to be deja vu? Is Campbell going to get the drive off the corner? Harry Wills gives him a good old fight. It's going to be the long way round a Curva Grande. That's not going to give him the optimal line that could allow Stuart Reynolds to nip his way to the inside. Instead, he's going to opt to follow Harry Wills through and use him as sort of the battering ram to open the gap on Sean Campbell. And wow, look at this slipstream from the 95 Mercedes to the inside. Has he got the car stopped? Just about. And finally has got himself into second place. But well, the way this fight is going, I'm sure that's not going to stand.
Well, you have a feeling that that is not it yet in this fight. Stuart Reynolds once again playing his part in getting Harry Wills into that second place, as Albin Kjellberg looks like he's been off the road somewhere. I think that was at the second chicane. That's why he's dropped to the back of the pro standings. But that was a nice move, nicely coordinated between Harry Wills and Stuart Reynolds, and now it looks like Wills has got that little bit of pace to maybe get away, but it's so difficult to do that at this circuit. There's so many straights and so much slipstream, it's impossible to get away, as this is Kjellberg going wide. And how is he losing these couple of places? He's already got a bit of damage, by the way. So this was a lap ago. He's already got a bit of damage on that car, and that is not helping. If there's any circuit where you don't want damage, it is this one.
Oh, absolutely. It just gets exaggerated so much. And yeah, it is a shame because Kjellberg is a driver that has such good pace yeah, really does put on a show more often than not. This is the fight in the arms between Dean Timms and John Williams. Still unable is Timms to find a way through on Williams because Timothy Vandenbroek is absolutely running away with this victory. Yes, the gap is only 1.6 seconds, but relative to Monza, that is absolutely huge. He is under absolutely no pressure whatsoever, and he is able to just have a nice, comfortable ride out in front, a bit of side-by-side between Simon Dodd and Ivo Linden down in towards Parabolica. Gets the squeeze to Simon Dodd. Does he get it stopped? Bit of argy-bargy between the two. The BMW turns across him, and well, there goes Ivo Linden, and a championship contender, by the way, pulling himself back onto the circuit. That is dangerous, not only for him and others' races, but also for his championship.
Absolutely, he had to be very careful with that, but he didn't want to lose any more points the way it was going. It was side by side with the Ferrari. That's straight down the inside there. Oh, I'm not sure. We need to see it from maybe on board the Ferrari to get a real idea of whether he was on the apex or on the right line there or not. However, Ivo Linden certainly felt the effects of it and went wide, and he drops a few points there. Of course, he's third in the championship at the moment, and this is the shot I wanted to see. So Simon Dodd off the inside. Oh, he's not really on the apex there for me. He goes into the side of Linden, and for me, I would put that slightly on Dodd. Because he wasn't quite keeping to the apex as tightly as you need to when you've got someone on the outside like that.
Yeah, that is true. You've got to respect and give everyone a nice wide berth on both fronts. And yeah, well, that is one of those things that come together. This is Albin Kjellberg, and just looping around on his own, really. Maybe got onto the back of the Audi in front of him and just had a bit of a touch, and then looped himself around on that very high curb, because into the Roger, it is a very high curb. You get it slightly wrong and you are certainly round. But this is the fight back in the pros for P2. They still haven't stopped. They are absolutely relentless. Harry Wills, Sean Campbell and Stuart Reynolds, and well, Sean Campbell is going to want to maintain that RSL 1-2 as we see Chris Chatterton taking a spin through Parabolica again. So it seems to be quite a tricky corner today.
Well, he might have gotten some help here. That's Ethan Bass trying to make his way down the inside. No, Chatterton's on his own here, and he just takes too much speed on the way in. You could see that happening from the moment he turned in almost. And I'm sure he could feel it as well, and I think everybody avoided him somewhat miraculously. Though everybody's gotten away with that, but You could just see, as I said, from the moment he turned in there, you could just tell that it was too fast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The car's weight just wasn't at all helping him here. This is finally the move maybe for Dean Timms to the inside of John Williams. He's also got Jeremy De for company in that Porsche just tucked up behind. Both pulled to the left to try and open up the corner as much as they can. Can Dean Timms get his nose to the inside? Not quite. John Williams hangs on for second place, and that is going to be to the absolute dismay of Dean Timms, who's trying lap after lap to try and open the gap to the inside through Curva Grande. That's not quite going to be able for him to do that. And still in the slipstream, has he got the run down in towards the Roger? It's still not got the run, and John Williams is parking that BMW so perfectly just to not let Dean Timms have any avenue through. And yeah, that is such a shame. We're getting word that R.A.W.S has had a bit of a moment.
Oh dear, he's been off the road here, and this is what we see time and time again from R.A.W.S. One or two mistakes, and it just puts him back, sets him back that little bit. He's off into the gravel here. Oh, and he never recovers, I don't think. Oh, and then Sean Campbell gets into him. Well, that could be a discussion. Was R.A.W.S going to go off anyway? Was he out of control anyway? Or was Sean Campbell the catalyst in that incident? Well, that is certainly going to be talked about because those two come together once or twice in the US version of this championship as well. As Simon Dodd looks like he might have been off into Lesmo 2 as well. Let's have a look at this. So over the curb, gets onto the gravel. He was already sliding into the gravel, and from what I believe was a top 5 position, Simon Dodd has hit the wall hard there, and he's going to struggle to get to the finish with that.
Oh, he absolutely is. That is such a shame for both R.A.W.S and Dodd, both of whom were driving such good races. Of course, it's not all over because they do have the reverse grid race, and based on their pace in race 1, they should be able to make amends for that in race 2. You would absolutely hope, but we'll just have to see how this one transpires. Stuart Reynolds as well, up into second place, was able to capitalise off the moments between Campbell and Wills. They are still fighting though between the two of them. Meanwhile, Alex Sharenga, yet again, it should, in theory for him, be another dominant lights to flag victory, because 6.5 seconds around a circle like Monza, well, that's going to be tough to beat.
It is, and I think he's absolutely home and hosed at this point, although the incident there with Wills has certainly closed this group up a little bit more, and now Campbell's losing a bit of time, so Jonas Dreher and Liam Ahern are getting involved here, and R.A.W.S might have a late resurgence as well, with just under 8 minutes to go here in this race. Sean Campbell, by the way, his lowest finishing position in any race this season has been 4th place. It's been a really nice EU season from him, even though he's still in 2nd place. He's had an even better US season, as we'll, I'm sure, speak about in a few hours' time when we go live for that as well. But it's looking pretty decent for Campbell at the moment. This is R.A.W.S again. Don't tell me he's been off again. It looks like he's just gone slightly off the road at the gravel, and this is what we see from R.A.W.S towards the end of these races. He does from time to time get a little bit more ragged as it goes on.
He does. It's a shame to see, because he starts off so well. Oh, well, maybe not gets off to the best of starts, but once he's settled in, 2, 3, 4 minutes in, he really does get into his own little rhythm and starts being so quick. But unfortunately for him, that is not quite the case. This is Stuart Reynolds once more trying to eye up the move on Sean Campbell to the outside of the Rettifido chicane. Has the silver Lamborghini got the edge to the outside? Breaks a little bit too late though. Makes turn 2 an absolute mess for himself. That could invite Jonas Dreher and Liam Ahern as well to get into the mix. John Williams and Dean Timms side by side as well as they exit Parabolica. Could this finally be the moment for Dean Timms to seize?
Well, it could be the moment for Jeremy De to take them both here. He's on the slipstream, he's got a bit of pace. Let's see, Dean Timms not with great straight line speed there. I wonder if his wings have just gone a little bit too high here, whether he's put a little bit too much on for a race like this. He's struggling to get through, and that Mercedes should normally have the legs to overhaul a BMW in this situation. However, I just wonder whether Timms has got a bit too much wing on, or whether John Williams has really trimmed his car out. But that's certainly a factor in this series here. You can just change the setups a little bit, and straight line speed's going to be a huge factor here.
Especially at a track like Monza. Yes, you can make that time up through the corners, but you're not going to get an overtake done mid-apex. You've got to get those overtakes done down the straight. You've got to defend with straight line speed too, and that is exactly what John Williams is doing to keep everyone at bay, and doing a fantastic job of it as well. Of course, it's not as easy as just having a good car in a straight line. You've got to keep it tidy through the corners. You've got to stay composed. You've got to park the car well, and he's done an absolutely stellar job of doing that. Stuart Reynolds falling off the back of Sean Campbell over the course of this last lap, because Jonas Dreher is putting a bit of pressure on him down in towards the Parabolica side by side. The Mercedes goes in. Has he broken a bit too late? Has the Lamborghini of Stuart Reynolds going to go for the over and under, get the drive off the corner, propel himself down this pit straight, or is the Mercedes going to outdrag him? That Mercedes has got some insane straight line speed, and it could see Stuart Reynolds off the podium.
Could well do. Let's have a look here, side by side. Dreyer and Liam Ahern doesn't really know where to go here. Just over 5 minutes to go, and it should be 3 laps here as well. Dreyer just trying to make that work on the outside. He's broken very late, and he's gotten through nicely as well. So that was a good move from Dreyer, although Stuart Reynolds won't be done just yet. This fight for third is going to go on, but Sean Campbell, luckily for him, he's gotten away now, and he should be pretty home and dry in second place, although this battle for third is very much still on. Is Reynolds just trying to push Dreyer along a little bit here and trying to get Sean Campbell back involved here? Let's wait and see, but I think it is a bit of a stretch from there as the battle for second in AM continues on. Dean Timms still trying to find a way through, and Jeremy De Boyver is very much here as well now.
He absolutely is. They have been like this for the last probably entire race, it must be said. Dean Timms still unable to find a way through. Jeremy De Boyver as well, just trying to find the open gap as constantly the Williams and Timms are side by side. There's nowhere for that Porsche to go. There's been so much action for the podium places across both Pro and AM, and that is Monza. It's keeping everyone nice and close in the slipstream. However, it does prove that overtaking around such a circuit is quite difficult because, you know, you get the drive with the slipstream, you overtake, but the move isn't done because on the next lap he comes right back at you and relaunches that move. So very difficult to get these moves done and sealed. But even for Dean Timms, he's finding it very hard to even find a way through. And I guess he is in a very tricky situation, having to look forwards and backwards. He wants to get himself into second place, but he also equally doesn't want to relinquish third either.
Certainly doesn't. These two, of course, 1 and 2 in the championship at the moment. We've got Jeremy De Boyver on top by 3 points ahead of Dean Timms. If the race ended right now, the gap would only be 1 point. Still in favour of De Boyver, but it would close. And you can be sure the Porsche driver does not want that to happen. John Williams once again struggling through the corners, but he's a rocket ship in a straight line here. You see that BMW on the inside line. Now maybe is the opportunity with Williams on a compromised line. Dean Timms is going to do the over and under. He's going to swoop to the inside and maybe have a go here. De Boyver's got a good exit as well. The two go side by side out the Parabolica with John Williams this time on the outside, although he edges back in front again with that extra straight line speed. De Boyver tries to get in the slipstream. He's going to take us 3 wide possibly on the inside here in the Porsche. He's going to be on the grass very soon. Dean Timms gives him no room at all, and now he's going to make this move. He realises this is the opportunity, although he goes too wide, way too wide. John Williams makes his way round the outside, and Jeremy De Boyver makes his way through at the end of it all anyway.
Oh my word, Dean Timms, his perfect opportunity, and he's absolutely fluffed it. Went in way too deep for T1, couldn't quite get it stopped, compromise line for T2, and that allowed both Williams and De Boyver back through. Dean Timms, all his hard work now has been undone. He's not got 1 car to get through to get second, he's got 2, and one of them is the man he's neck and neck in the championship with. We're going to take another look at it once more. Dean Timms on the inside in that Mercedes, Williams on the outside with that BMW. Here comes De Boyver, who wanted to get into the mix. You can see he's very confident to the right hand side. That track just does narrow a little bit, forced to back out, forced to concede. Dean Timms, of course, caught off guard by that on the title line on the inside. Brakes probably where you would on the racing line. Doesn't get it stopped. Williams sees it coming, is like, yeah, all right, you do that, mate. I'm going to come right back underneath you and get myself back into second place. And that is such a shame because opportunities like that with not long left to go in this race, he can't be doing that.
Fair play to Dean Timms there as well, because he very easily could have run them both out of road and just took the racing line anyway through turn 2, and I know a lot of people would do that. So big props to him for keeping things very clean there, as John Williams now is really coming under pressure from Jeremy De Boyver, who does look like he's got a bit of an edge in terms of straight line speed and might be able to have his own chance here, although Dean Timms is not going to go lying down here either at the moment. They make their way out of the Parabolica. Williams once again leads the train. Is he going to just sneak to the inside here, De Boyver? He's just about got alongside there. That is really close between the two. Is he going to get squeezed onto the grass for the second lap in a row? Not quite, although Williams is going to get his nose in front and get his whole car in front and defend once again into turn number 1. An unbelievable battle between these guys, and there might yet be 2 laps to go. It's going to be very close to whether this is the final lap or not. Not entirely sure whether it will be, but these guys have been acting like the last 3 laps have been the last one.
It's going to go down to the flag, I'm sure. They are fighting with fire in their hearts. They are giving it absolutely everything are those three, and it's been so good to see. This is the fight still for Pro. Look at this train, 6 cars in contention for second place. Sean Campbell leads it from Jonas R.A.W.S, Stuart Reynolds, Liam Ahern, Harry Wills and Thomas Cope, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. It's been an absolute treat across both categories. Sean Campbell, of course, did manage to get himself out of that slipstream range, but has obviously been reeled in by the likes of Jonas R.A.W.S and Stuart Reynolds, and Jonas R.A.W.S might see himself have to fall off the podium because Reynolds looks to the left-hand side. Is this the final lap, Ewan?
It looks like it might be. The checkered flag is out anyway, and Alex Urenga does cross the line with seconds to spare, so they're all going to fight to the line with Stuart Reynolds losing out here. Liam Ahern was off the road there and might fall into trouble for that one. He grabs 4th place at the line though, with Reynolds ahead of Wills and Cope. I'm not convinced these drivers would have known that was the final lap until the very final corner of that race there, but Alex Urenga takes the victory in Pro. Let's see what's happening in AM as well, because Timothy Vanderbroek is still leading ahead of Williams, De Boyver and Timms, but I think those guys are going to finish where they are right now. Timothy Vanderbroek, comes across the line right now. He'll take the victory. John Williams will hold on to second, I think, although it's going to be a drag race to the line between himself, De Boyver and Timms. They come across the line where they started, and Jeremy De Boyver will extend his championship margin, although it will only be 5 points.
What a race one that was. We have been gifted a race here, and it's only race 1. We've got a reverse grid race and double the time for race 2. I really cannot wait. And yeah, in terms of the championship in the AMS, there's a lot at stake just for pride amongst the pros in that midfield. It's so close as well in the championship. It's going to be an absolute cracker, and Monza, well, that slipstream, we said it was going to play a massive factor, but it just keeps everyone so close. It doesn't matter if you're a couple attempts off the pace, you can stay in the fight. People start to battle, you get reeled back in, and then it's just an absolute cluster of cars. So much to negotiate, and well, it makes for good racing.
I think that what people remember most from this circuit is, of course, the incidents down towards turn number 1, which we see so often. But then again, people forget, because of that, the great racing you can have around here, and the great racing we've seen as well. It's been absolutely fantastic entertainment for the first 25 minutes, and we'll see another 50 minutes here in just a few moments' time. So, Alex Urenga takes the victory here in Pro and overall, of course. Sean Campbell held on to the line as Jonas R.A.W.S came under severe attack for 3rd. Liam Ahern did get ahead of Stuart Reynolds through that final corner. Harry Wills was just behind them with Thomas Cope in that group as well. Ethan Bass, Thomas Reiter and Thomas Dandridge round out the top 10. Taylor Lane just missed out, so did Michael Patterman, Felix Pearl and Chris Chatterton and Albin Schauberg failed to make the checkered flag. In the AM category, it was Timothy Vanderbroek who mostly had things his own way. John Williams had a lot of defending to do, but he finished 2nd, ahead of Jeremy De Boyver, Dean Timms as well. Then D. Dave Lammick, who was just ahead of Thomas Pugh. Ivo Linden dropped to 7th throughout that race and will drop a few points. Timo McKeon and Dominic Goodsell and Simon Dodge will round out the top 10. Then Vladimir Halibai coming up from 2nd to last on the start. He got up to 11th. Werner S came from the pit lane to 12th. Gus Franken was 13th ahead of Mark Bailey and Kurt Hau Jensen, rounding up the top 15. David Camano dropped to 16th, I'm afraid, ahead of Jorge Ferrer and Stefan Schuster. And finally, we also had Navarro De Boyver coming over the line. We had James Slates 20th ahead of Jamas Astamoinen and Jasper Sharks, rounding out the huge AM field we had here in that race. Well, Jack, that was a very enjoyable first 25 minutes, and now we've got the reverse grid to look forward to. I just want to just get this in before we get to a break here. We've noticed there that John Williams had really good straight line speed, looking at the AM category and thinking about the AM category. I mean, obviously those guys who finished up towards the front are going to have a lot of overtaking to do, so that may well come into effect here. Who has really trimmed these cars out and who will be able to make these overtakes throughout this race, because it is difficult.
It really is. It really does come down to set up, of course, driver preference. Alex Urenga had a really easy time in race 1, but now he's got to carve his way through the field. Of course, he's really good on lap 1, making up as many positions as possible in those early stages while everyone's really clumped together. But once everything starts to fan out, it's so difficult to then close that gap and then remake those places. And yeah, it is going to be such a task because, again, we've got these long trains. We're going to have these long trains in race 2 between the slightly slower and the slightly faster guys, and everyone gets gets the benefit of that slipstream, it pretty much just, you know, cancels itself out in a sense, and that's going to really level things out and make it quite difficult actually for some of the faster guys to get their way through. So we could see, I'm not going to be too surprised if we see a shock winner in race 2.
Well, we could well do. Let's find out, though. We're going to take a quick short break here.
Enjoy
A quick short break, nice.
here
in the next couple of moments. We'll be back very shortly with the second race. Reverse grid, 50 minutes. Make sure you stay with us. We'll be back in a few moments' time.
Move it down.
Welcome back to Monza for race 2 here of the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship. This is round 7. This is Monza, and we've had a fantastic race 1. 50 minutes of racing to come. My name is Ian O'Leary. I'm alongside Zach Sweeney, as I was before the break. And Zach, it's great to be at a circuit like this. It's been absolutely fantastic racing, that first race, and you can only expect this second race to get that little bit better with the reverse grid, of course, that we've talked about.
And we get double the length as well. The action, we just didn't want it to stop. It would have carried on were they allowed to if it wasn't for the checker flag stopping them. So yeah, these 50 minutes, the reverse grid, it's going to be an absolute banger. Probably one of the best we've had all season. And we've had some really good races. The standard is always set high in this championship. And it's hard to beat, but yeah, week in, week out, these guys put on such a show. And yeah, we're just talking about the championship points. It was a talking point throughout all of last race with especially the AMs, how close it is. But yeah, well, it's heating up more and more each race.
It is. Now, there are only 2 drivers within 100 points of Alex Urenga in the pro standings. It's just extended out to 24 points with that race there. We'll see how the likes of Urenga and Campbell make their way through the field, if they can, here in this race, of course. But those pro standings, as we've mentioned many times, becoming a bit of a 2-horse race, although the fight between Thomas Cope and Stuart Reynolds for third, is getting fairly close as well, separated by only 5 points. But as you mentioned, the AM standings are really where the real excitement is at the moment. Jeremy De Boyver did extend his championship margin to 5 points at the end of that race. Ivo Linden dropped a little bit further back, however he'll have a slightly more ideal starting position than everybody else inside the top 4. Timothy Vanderbroek did himself a great favour by winning that race. Now he's 20 points behind De Boyver. That's exactly what he needed to do, really, and it just showed that his pace is fantastic at this circuit because he was able to get away from the likes of Williams, De Boyver and Timms in that first race, and just to have that race all his own way, really. So that's very encouraging for his second race, where he'll be trying to make his way through what is over 20 cars, I think.
Going to be a tough ask, but he had some great pace in race 1. It'll just really, I think the big, decider really of this race will be those opening couple of laps. As I was talking about before the break, everyone's close, everyone's clumped up. There's a lot of things going on. People get overwhelmed, people make mistakes. That's when you can capitalize and really make some big gains early to make your life, 25 minutes in, 30 minutes in, a lot easier. And especially towards the end of the race, if you spend 10-15 minutes stuck behind a car that you could have gotten past at the start, you're going to lose a lot less time. You're not going to finish as high as you potentially could do. So yeah, look out for the first opening couple of laps, especially towards the rear side of the grid, because those fast guys will want to come through, and they'll want to come through quickly.
They certainly will. Just a few discussions going on in the Discord chat, by the way, about track temperature and how that's been affecting these cars so far. Ethan Bass was saying that the high track temperature possibly contributed to the amount of understeer that he had throughout that race, because he qualified really nicely, but then in the race just fell back quite dramatically, which was really unfortunate, because obviously everyone wants to see that Ford doing well. I suppose, other than the other guys in pro, I suppose. But I'm not sure what the track temperature is out there at the very moment. However, that will be affecting these guys just ever so slightly. There it is on the right-hand side. Just changes as we do that because of the new session. However, 26 degrees out there on the circuit, maybe a little bit less than it was in race 1. Let's get to the grid though, shall we? Because we're about to get ready and get racing for race 2 here at Monza, and it's going to be Albin Kjellberg, who didn't finish the first race, also Chris Charlton, who'll be on the front row together. Felix Pierre will be in third ahead of Michael Patterman. Taylor Lane running out the top 5. Then it's Thomas Strangers and Thomas Reiter. Ethan Bass in the Ford will be 8th. Thomas Cope and Harry Wills run out the top 10, with Stuart Reynolds and Liam Ahern fighting again. Jonas Dreyer will be 13th ahead of Sean Campbell and Alex Urenga on the back row together again. Jesper Sharks will be the first driver in AM ahead of Jarmo Sestemoinen. James Slate's third ahead of Navarro De Boyver, not to be confused with his championship contending relative, I believe. Stefan Schuster is in the top 5 as well as Jorge Ferrer. David Camano will be 7th ahead of Kurt Hau Jensen. Then Gus Franken and Werner S round out the top 10. Vladimir Halibai will be in 11th ahead of Simon Dodd. Then it's going to be Dominic Goodsell and Timo McKeown. Ivo Linden, best placed of the real top championship contenders. He's 15th though. Thomas Pugh 16th ahead of D. Dave Lamink. Dean Timms 18th ahead of Jeremy De Boyver, Don Williams and Timothy Vanderbroek rounding out the 21 car AM grid. Once again, it's absolutely huge huge grid. Unfortunately, we have lost one of the AM drivers from this session to the next. However, it's still a very large grid, and I think turn 1 this time is going to be a bit more of a talking point than it was last time, where it was very, very clean.
Yeah, it was surprisingly clean for Monza standards. Well, for any standards, really. They just sort of all funneled their way through single file. Well, Kjellberg didn't have the best of race ones. He's getting a bit friendly with the safety car, it must be said. Wants to get this race underway very, very quickly, clearly. But yeah, looking forward to race 2. And yeah, with the desperation, the championship at stake, turn 1's going to be spicy.
It is, yes, indeed. So very much looking forward to how this one is going to be getting on. Kjellberg is not a slow driver by any means. Sometimes, with no disrespect to them, with the reverse grid, obviously the slowest drivers end up at the top. That might not be the case here with Kjellberg because he is a strong driver, although hasn't seemed to have gotten to grips with Monza the way he's gotten to grips with some of the other circuits this season. However, he will be in control of the field when the pace car just pulls in now, and he will be ready to get us underway. It's quite a long hold, really, because it's quite a long home straight here at the Temple of Speed. However, Kjellberg going to be trying to just get everybody under his control and get away cleanly here. Let's see as the lights go on now. How long is he going to leave it as they get towards the line now? Kjellberg waiting a long time, and now he goes, catching everybody off guard, including Chatterton. He's got car lips here as he goes towards the turn 1. It's very, very stacked up in the middle though. 3 wide there for Thomas Dandridge. I think that is Michael Patterman steaming down at the outside of Taylor Lane. It's all very clean though for the pros, although spoke too soon. There is a crash on the outside. Stuart Reynolds involved, so's Thomas Reiter, who was the car to get spun around initially, and then the AM drivers are onto it immediately as well. A little bit less of a split this time, with Jarmo Sastmoinen getting up the inside into turn 1. He makes his way through, he gets into the lead, so it's slightly less clean as Ivo Linden's bad day continues. He goes round for a second spin of the day, and this one is a lot more disastrous.
It really is. He's going to lose so much time. Has to do a 3-point turn to get himself back into the mix. And for his championship, that is so detrimental. He cannot afford things like that. In race 1, it was all him. He had, well, actually no, it wasn't, more so Simon Dodd, but he got himself into that tussle. And again, in race 2, and that is such a shame. But a dominant start so far for Jarmo Sastmoinen ahead of Jasper Tjarks, Nava de Boiva, James Slates and Stefan Schuster, your top 5. But it's so close. A lot of chaos. And well, he did say it's going to be a lot more chaotic down in towards the Retafilo for the first time here in race 2. But yeah, for the most part, most people found their way through. There's just so many cars, 20-car grid here for the AMS. It's absolutely huge, and into such a tight chicane, what more can you expect?
One of the few predictions that have gone right actually there from me, but there we are. Ethan Bass just on the outside at the moment of Harry Wills, who's trying to make progress early on here. Let's have a look at where the likes of Campbell and Urenga event ended up. Most of the front runners from the last race have gotten through that first lap chaos quite cleanly. However, what the chaos has happened, or what has made that chaos happen, if you see what I mean, and Urenga and Campbell haven't been able to make the progress that they normally would because of those incidents.
They haven't. It's been unorthodox, it must be said. Who's this into the pit lane? It's Stuart Reynolds, of course, naturally, after that poor start. Is a shame, as we see Ethan Bass and Lee Mahern getting a bit hudgy-budgy through turn 2. Ethan Bass, I think, maybe a bit too desperate on the inside of turn 2 there, and yeah, tapped a hand round, which is very easily done. These cars are sensitive to contact, but yeah, maybe a bit too desperate. Ethan Bass does like to give that Ford GT a good run and try and hold those positions as hard as possible, but sometimes in that desperation does fight a little bit too hard, and well, he's got a train going on here to the absolute frustration of the 2 RSR cars of Alex Urenga and Sean Campbell, because Ethan Bass knows how to hold up a train, and well, they do not want that.
They certainly don't. Side by side between everybody as well in the AM category, by the looks of things. It's all getting very close. That was James Slates just slotting into line in front of David Camano. Excuse me, that was Liam Ahern, who's embedded himself within the AM category because of that spin we just saw a few moments ago. So that is all very interesting. Liam Ahern, he's really got his work cut out here, but this is the thing now with the AM and Pro split. The AMs didn't quite leave as much room to the pros as they did in race 1. I don't think there's any real rules around it. You just got to leave a split between the 2 fields. And so the kind of leading car just kind of controls it. And on this occasion, the split is a lot shorter. And it's really hurt Liam Ahern here. He's trying to make his way through on the AMs now, who don't have to get out of his way. Liam Ahern has been able to get through there. However, they don't have to get out of his way, and it's making his life very difficult.
It is so difficult for him. We saw that on lap 1 as well, with people spinning and getting caught out. There's a lot of chaos going on as well as Tjax tries to keep Slate's Commando and Franken behind on this run towards the Parabolica. A lot of cars going into abreast between Tjax and Slates. Can Slates get underneath him? No, he goes in too deep himself. That's going to invite the likes of Commando and even Franken maybe through. And well, here comes Commando, already trying to eye up the move on Tjax down the pit straight in that BMW, trying to utilise the straight line speed that it has got. Has he got the legs down in towards the Retifilo as well, with the Audi looking to the right hand side? There's a lot of cars going on 3 wide as well. Oh, so close, and that's what we've come to expect in race 2.
Certainly was. I think that was R.A.W.S, by the way, trying to make his way down the inside of everybody there by making it 3 wide as it all drops and changes just outside of the top 5. Everybody's gotten away with it and gotten out of the corner at least, but it was certainly quite chaotic. Side by side, just in the background slightly. R.A.W.S making his way through on James Slates, who's been pushed to the outside. This is Timo Mikio into turn 1. I think this is the 2nd lap of the race. And what's going to happen to Mikio? Oh, there's a big stack up there. That wasn't even because of anybody going around. That was just the concertina effect that happens. And that was lap 2, I think, as Jasper Tjax from a very nice place position right up towards the front. I think he started this race on the pole position. He's already dropped way down to 21st place.
Take a look at how it happened as well, and it can so easily happen. We were talking about that concertina effect. He does it all by himself. Under brakes in towards the Roger. That is so strange, and just buries it into the barrier. Has to reverse himself out. Just maybe got on the brakes a bit too hard. The car was unsettled, anything of the sort, and he just went in sideways. Was not good at all. Ethan Bass gets a little bit squirrely off the exit of Parabolica. That could invite the 2 RSR cars of Urenga and Campbell to force their way through. Is Bass going to fight this one hard? Urenga and Campbell aren't usually 2 drivers that have much pressure put up against them, but is Ethan Bass going to try and hang on to this 9th place side by side? Urenga to the inside. He's trying to make amends for a slightly worse start than usual, and his teammate Campbell can't quite follow him through either. Ethan Bass down to P10, and that was a crucial move for Urenga, because Ethan Bass could have held them up for a lot longer. Now Urenga needs to press forward.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him to do so, though, as we see Stefan Schuster getting down the inside of Navarra de Boiva now, and that is 2nd place for Schuster. So nice progress from him as well, though Jarmo Sastamoinen is really taking the initiative now and getting away, as this is Messi into the first chicane, and around goes Simon Dodd. Simon Dodd just tipped around. Oh, and around as well for Timo Mikio, and again Jorge Perez involved. Oh, Halabai as well. It's a big mess going into turn 1 and 2. Dear me, well, everybody's gained at quite a few places because of that now. The likes of De Boiva and Williams are nearly inside the top 10 already. Dean Timms is 8th, and it's mainly down to this, which did get a bit messy.
It did. Oh my word, look at that. Yeah, well, that is to be expected. Simon Dodd goes around. The Mercedes just slams on the brakes, obviously just trying to avoid it. And again, the concertina effect, everyone piling up. That Mercedes going to commit to the cut over, and that BMW was just like, wait, what's going on here? And then bang into the other 2 as well with Ferreira. Yeah, well, that is... I would not want to be the stewards after this race. I would not want to be in the driver's chat after this race either. Yeah, that's going to get quite messy.
It certainly did. I mean, it's difficult to know where to call that one. First of all, everybody was avoiding. Timo McKeon was trying to avoid the concertina effect on the left-hand side there, and chopped in front of the BMW that ended up spinning him around. And eventually that BMW ended up into the back of Ferrer, which also tipped him around, as Thomas Pugh has been off into the gravel as well. Goes around at the De La Rocha chicane. He drops to 19th. In the AM standings. Timothy Vanderbroek was caught up in that as well, and he's got back to the pit lane now, so that's not great news for him, as the battles in Pro now really kick off. The battle for 5th, this is all over. It's allowing the top 4 to get away, but the thing is, most of the fastest drivers in this field are not in the top 4, so it may be that we do see a surprise winner. However, with over 40 minutes to go, it is hard to say. Thomas Cope trying to get through on Harry Wills here, difficult to do so. It's going to be difficult for any of these guys to get away from the other, because they're all so evenly matched at this circuit.
They are indeed. Of course, the tow being a big helping hand to that. But this train from, what is it, P5 all the way down to Jonas Dreyer in P12, it is huge. This train of cars, of course, as you say, allowing the top 4 to branch away. Alex Ringer and Sean Campbell, they have got their work cut out from that. Is really where our main attention lies in terms of the main stars are trying to cut their way through the field. Of course, they are very good at in terms of pit strategy. That will probably be the only way they can recover in this race. The Mercedes looking to just try and let a couple of people through, I think, but Thomas Cope trying to launch the offensive on Harry Wills, who has got some good pace. He, of course, did really well in race 1 up until his bit of a moment fighting with Sean Campbell, but yeah, he's not making the progress towards the top 4 that I would have expected, and instead he's having to play defense.
He is right now. R.A.W.S on the defensive from Stefan Schuster, and these two have been exchanging positions now. It is sort of not allowing them to close in on Joonas Sastamoinen, who's continuing to get away, and now David Kamano trying to make his way through as well. That's very easy indeed. I wonder if Schuster got a slow down there, because he was just very slow down that straight, and straight down the inside for Kamano very nearly. He is on a mission right now, very close to the back of the Porsche. It looks like he might well be in second before very long here. Kamano really on a mission right now, and if these guys do wait too much longer, then Sastamoinen is going to be away with this race, so they do need to get on with it.
They do indeed. You can see Kamano to the left-hand side. Can he get this move done? He is ahead of R.A.W.S, but only by an inch as they run side by side in towards the rectilinear. Is the BMW braver on the brakes? It looks to be the case, but R.A.W.S is going to come back up the inside. Will have the outside for turn 2. The wider line gives him the drive off the corner, though, and that's going to be his saving grace down in towards Curva Grande and, of course, into the Roger. This is the fight for P5. Thomas Cope has been able to get himself ahead of Harry Wills and Alex Sharenga up towards the front of this train. Albin Kjellberg from the race lead has made a crucial mistake off the exit of Lesmo 2, and he's tumbling down the order.
He has made a very big mistake, I'm afraid. It's just getting onto the grass on the way in, and he has gone all the way around. Well, he recovered it quite well, but he didn't have a big lead, so he's lost that now to Chris Chatterton. Taylor Lane's into second, Felix Pearl onto the podium as well right now. So Kjellberg loses out, and this is going to close this entire race together, because Thomas Cope is towing a group containing nearly everybody, including Ethan Bass right at the very end there, back on terms at the moment, and it's only really minus Liam Ahern at the moment that the real top drivers from the previous race are getting involved once again here. So that mistake has all allowed things to close up right up again, but it's just going to be a complete mess with everybody now, because there's about 13 drivers all involved in this train, and it's very difficult to get out of it as well, as we've already seen.
It is so difficult for that to happen. You can see Thomas Cope, I think, running side by side again with Harry Wills, and is going to launch himself back up the inside to try and maintain that P5. Harry Wills is not giving it up easy at all. Meanwhile, that's allowing Urenga to close the gap in. But yeah, I mean, Albin Kjellberg's spin has really spiced things up again. Those top 4 cars really did sail off into the distance, and it's brought everyone back into contention. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this one transpires. Still a long way to go in this race, but it's certainly proven to be chaotic, and well, I hope it doesn't leave up anytime soon.
Absolutely. It's fantastic entertainment for the moment. Alex Urenga already into 7th place. You can see Campbell there in 8th. So they are making good progress, but it's difficult to do that. And even if they do get to the very front here, it's going to be difficult, as we've already mentioned, for them to get away here. Likes of Harry Wills and Thomas Cope are going to be very difficult to get through. And Kjellberg, who's really on a mission to recover some of those places that he lost with that spin, and he's going to start right now, going into Ascari by the looks of things. Harry Wills making it clear to Thomas Cope that he doesn't want to try the overtake right now, but Kjellberg does, and so he's on the inside going into Ascari and makes his way through as well. And so up to 3rd place for him. Felix Pearl just drops outside of those provisional podium places for the moment. It just slows them down a little bit. So Thomas Cope are going to be able to close in as well, especially since Harry Wills decided to not go for that move, going into that Ascari chicane as well, which was probably the sensible thing to do at this stage in the race. We're not even 15 minutes in just yet. Felix Pearl now going to be under big pressure from Thomas Cope. They're going down towards turn number 1. This is the prime overtaking opportunity into the slipstream, although hasn't quite got the legs here. Pearl going to stay in front here, is he? Thomas Cope is going to make that dive then into 4th place, and he will move up a place, and you get the feeling that Felix Pearl is going to see a lot of that over the next 10-15 minutes.
Probably is, because of how close everyone is. Once, you fall again and again, and you just lose that rhythm, that momentum. And everyone, as soon as they see an open gap, they will just try and force their way through and pick up as many places as they can. Still side by side, a little bit further back as well on the run towards the Roger. This is Felix Pearl again falling victim to Harry Wills to the inside of the Roger, up into P5 for Wills. And you can see there Urenga also trying to capitalise on the exit in towards the first of the 2 Lesmos. Urenga does get himself to the inside, and Pearl is tumbling as we said he would, and well, Campbell, I think, is probably eyeing up that move too.
It certainly is, and it's exactly what you mentioned there, the momentum that Pearl loses, and he's trying to get out of the way here almost. You see Campbell being gifted the inside line through that slight bend in the road. He's going to get 7th place here, surely, going up the hill towards Ascari. I'm just going to ease off slightly as we go back to Dean Timms, who's really on a mission here, making fantastic progress into 3rd place, and he's easily done the best of the championship contenders. Jeremy De Boyver's into 6th. We've got Ivo Linden in 9th, despite the fact he went around at turn 1. That's a very impressive drive from him so far. And Timothy Vanderbroek is out there again, and he will be gaining a few places from here on in. However, he is going to lose out on points again. It's not a great day for him, despite that race 1 victory. This is great progress from the guys in AM, who despite having more cars to overtake, have actually done a bit better than the guys in Pro.
It could be the reason as to why they're being able to do so. A bit wide, I think, for one of the cars coming off the exit of Ascari. That's going to be Gus Franken running wide. That's going to invite James Slates to get himself into P4. Jeremy De Boyver as well, trying to make progress. He's also one of those people in the championship hunt to the inside of Parabolica. He's going to get 2 cars in the span of 1 straight into the Parabolica up to P4. And now he's got sights on Dean Timms just a couple of seconds up the road. He's going to try and charge after him. Both get himself onto the podium and ahead of his championship rival. That's going to be so crucial. But yeah, the AM's doing a fantastic job making the most of any bit of chaos, any bit of carnage they can get their hands on, picking their way through very, very nicely. And well, yeah, well, just doing a really, really good job overall. Everyone keeping it nice and clean, and these packs, they're giving us so much action. I love to see it.
Absolutely. Timothy Vanderbroek, by the way, was while he was getting the repairs there, was able to even speak in the Discord and just saying about how difficult it was to dodge everybody through those opening moments. Timo McKeon, by the way, is our first official retirement of the day as well here in this feature race, as Albin Sjölberg makes his way to the outside of Taylor Lane, but he's not able to make it work there. Thomas Cope very close in behind, and now the real front runners are making their way towards the front of the field, so they just about have done, but they are all very close together. It looks like the likes of Thomas Cope, Harry Wills, Alex Sharenga and Sean Campbell have all survived, and that's pretty much the same as to what we saw last time, just replacing Stuart Reynolds with Thomas Cope in that front group of 4, you might remember, from that first race of the day. As we go back to the AM category, Yarmas Testimonial's got a nice lead here, but it's difficult to see him holding on to that with more than half an hour remaining.
It's going to be tough. I don't think it's impossible for him to do that. Of course, when we get to the pit stops, that's going to play a factor as we see Albin Kjellberg under pressure from Taylor Lane. This is the fight for 2nd place. Taylor Lane looking to the right-hand side. Thomas Cope going to launch his way to the outside. That is opportunistic at its finest, trying to do that. And Kjellberg got himself up into 2nd place. What a move from the Mercedes. Trying to make just redeem himself really for a poor showing in race 1. You said he didn't quite get to grips with Monza. He's getting there really slowly, and the gap between himself and Chris Chatterton is shrinking. Only 1 second. This could very quickly turn into a long train for P1.
Could well do. Expecting roughly 7 cars, I would reckon, at this stage. Chris Chatterton looks like he's going to get slightly chased down here, although Harry Wilson not having a great time here, and Alex Sharenga trying to make his way down the inside as Thomas Cope very nearly does the same. At Lesmo 1, you very rarely see moves actually made through there, and so he's just going to have to stick behind for now, because it would be a brave move to try that at the moment. It's also got the danger, this is the danger that I'm surprised we haven't really seen come into effect yet. It's the fact that when you do try and make these moves, when you make those attempts, it can break groups apart, and then when they are broken up like that, it's very difficult to get them back again. So that's something you have to factor in, something you have to be careful of really when you are making moves at any corner really.
Absolutely, especially Lesmo 2, because it's the corner that precedes the long flat out section. Not quite straight. There is a bit of a kink as you dip down under the old banking, but yeah, it's completely flat out, and you need to have that straight line speed going down that part of the track and down in towards Ascari. So especially going for that move. This is Dean Timms on the back of David Camano, Jeremy De Boyver as well, trying to get ahead of his championship rival to the right hand side. Not quite going to be 3 abreast on the run towards Ascari. Dean Timms looking to go the long way around. Surely not in that Mercedes. He's going to commit. He's going to brake late around the outside in towards Ascari. What a move from Dean Timms. Jeremy De Boyver has to sit back. He's got to get past David Camano first and then set his sights on Dean Timms. But oh my word, that is textbook.
Into the wall, not quite into the wall, but somebody off the road there in the background. I think it was possibly one of the pro cars or something like that. Anyway, there's big contact here. Harry Wills right round the outside of Thomas Cope and Taylor Lane, who have both been fighting it out here. There's no doubt about that, and they're not particularly happy with each other by the looks of things. Alex Urenga trying to make his way through on both of them as well, and he will do it to the second chicane. Late braking for the championship leader, although Taylor Lane stuffs it down the inside. Urenga off the road. Championship leader losing out massively with that one. Taylor Lane was not going to give up very easily indeed. However, there was definite contact. Everybody else benefits with Wills, Campbell and Cope all up the order, and this is all where it started, way back at turn 1.
We'll have to see. You can see Thomas Cope on the outside, gets squeezed off a little bit over the curb, side by side. Ooh, gives him a bit of argy-bargy, not quite what you like to see. There's, I believe, Harry Wills trying to get into the mix. 3 abreast, just gets pinched in the middle, does Thomas Cope. Not really much he can do there, just gets sandwiched between the two. Here comes Alex Urenga trying to capitalise on all of it, as he does. You can't blame him for this when the pack is so close. You have to take any opportunity you can. Brake late, does he get it stopped? So close. Does get it stopped, but I think the BMW, you can't do that. A corner like the R.A.W.S is arguably some of the most difficult corners to actually stay around the outside. There's just not much room at all, and yeah, that is a shame for Urenga.
Well, I disagree, to be honest. I think he's got an absolute right to be there on the outside and then to the inside, but there we are. The two of them are back together again now. And Alex Urenga wanted to get this over with as quickly as he possibly can, and he has done. And Thomas Cope, to be fair, didn't give much room to Taylor Lane either through turn 1 and 2 there. So anyway, we'll see how that transpires afterwards. Sean Campbell versus Thomas Cope happening at the moment as well. So Campbell holds on to 4th position in that one, as a whole number of positions changing in the background. Dadridge making up a couple of places in that one. So he's up to 9th place for the moment. But it was always bound to happen with a group like that, really, that it's so chaotic at the moment that now finally it's a bit more spread out and a little bit calmer. But with a group like that, there were bound to be incidents, really.
It was inevitable, it must be said, the desperation that starts to creep in. People start to fight so desperate to keep those places, so desperate to send one to the inside in order to get those moves done. It happens. Albin Kjellberg, though, meanwhile, got himself ahead of Chris Chatterton, and he now leads race 2 here at Monza. We're going to take a look at how it transpired to the inside. Pretty orthodox move, it must be said. Brakes late, brings it back over to the left. Chatterton doesn't fight that one too hard at all. Maybe for him, he knows he's not really in contention for the race lead. He's more just trying to maximise any result he can get, and by fighting with Kjellberg, all he's going to do is put him into the clutches of everyone else behind.
This is what happened a bit further back. I think this is Dandridge on the inside of Ethan Bass, is it? Oh no, this is a different incident, and that's straight into the back of Bass for Patterman. The two of them both having to miss the chicane. I think Patterman actually got onto the grass there, which ended up instigating that. However, they've gotten away with it with nothing but a slowdown. As Albin Kjellberg continues on extending his lead at the moment ahead of Chatterton and Wills. Let's go back to the AMS though, with the likes of Werner Ace and John Williams at the moment fighting over 4th place. Where has Jeremy De Boyve gone? 8th place. Dropped on a few places here. Not entirely sure how that's happened, but he's not got any damage, so that's encouraging signs. But clearly, he's lost a few places here, down to 8th. And this is going to be taking a bit of a hit now in the championship if he doesn't get his act together over the next half an hour.
Yeah, he's got to maximise the next half an hour, try and recover very, very quickly. You can see trying to make a couple of moves to the inside of the Rettifiello. The BMW on his outside goes in deep, and he was ahead. I'll give him that. He was ahead. And again, it's just that desperation starting to creep in. You look your nose to the inside, and De Boyve didn't want to give any inch. Probably fighting for a championship, you do just give that extra little bit of space. Just say, okay, yeah, you can come back up the inside. That's fine. As Sonora is spinning out, but still a lot of carnage. As we see John Williams dart to the inside of Werner S in towards the Rettifiello. The Audi has to back out, has to concede, because John Williams is charging his way through back into P4. Meanwhile, they lose the charge to the podium. Here comes Harry Wills maybe on the back of Chris Chatterton. Is going to look to the inside of Ascari, and again Chatterton not fighting it too hard at all. He is more scared of the train behind.
He will be, and I think Harry Wills quite scared of the train behind as well, actually, and making his way through right now. So we're very much in the pit stop window here now, so may well see some pit stops, particularly from those who are stuck in traffic just a little bit. Who's going to try and chase down Kjellberg here, which is not going to be an easy move to, or an easy thing to do over the next few laps towards those pit stops, and maybe afterwards as well, depending on how good of a fight He puts up from the lead of the race. 47.0 that time, was half a second quicker than Harry Wills, but of course he was making his way through as Thomas Cope comes in. This is exactly what I was talking about. Those guys in traffic who don't want to be in traffic any longer can come in that little bit early and try and get some lap time on your own, which is probably a bit easier, but he's got to be worried about those AM drivers because Sastamoynin's not too far away at the moment, and I think Thomas Cope is only going to find himself in the AM field here.
He's got to find a nice chunk of clear air, but in doing so, in leaving the traffic, he also leaves the slipstream, which might actually harm him if the guys sort of get their act together and start to calm down. Thomas Cope being by himself, yes, he's by himself, yes, he's got some clear air, he's not affected by the bunch up effect or anything like that. He's by himself, and he has come out, I think, ahead of the train of AMS just, not by much. He's got to get himself back into the room, start to just warm those tyres back up and again settle in, because it won't take too much for those AMS to try and get their way through. But yeah, he's just got to make the most of the next couple laps and hope people in front of him start to fight, because if they don't, they might actually end up being quite quick.
Chatterton not really interested in fighting here. He even left a bit of space through the slight curve in the road, so it not looking to really fight that one with Sean Campbell, and he drops off the podium now, just looking for a strong result at the end of all this, really. And you can't fault him for that at all. Alex Urenga is going to be next. Going to try and make his way through again. Alex Urenga's previous worst race, by the way, still only dropped 14 points from that last one. And currently he is on course to have these points count at least. So he's going to need to get in front of Sean Campbell. As once again, John Williams is taking up the role of being the cork in the bottle. But he's just so hard to overtake because his straight line speed is clearly fantastic. And everybody else is struggling to get through. We've got Werner S, Ivo Linden, James Slate, Dito Flaming, Simon Dodd there as well, as some of the guys from Pro come into the pit lane. We've also got Gus Franken trying to get involved in that fight as well. So it's all being caught by John Williams, really, who's got a really fast car in a straight line, but it's causing a bit of a train.
It is, and he's also, as I said in race one, keeping composed, parking the car where it needs to be. He's keeping it clean through the corners as well, as we see Ivo Linden, Werner S just trying to find their way through to the inside of Parabolica. Werner S sends one. The BMW has to stay behind. The long way round for John Williams as well. He's going to have to be neck and neck on this run down the pit straight. Werner S sort of darted to the inside. He's going to compromise his run in doing so, though, and that could allow Ivo Linden, who spun on lap one, by the way, he's back into the mix and trying to fight his way through. You can see Werner S looking to the left-hand side of John Williams, I should say, down in towards the Fido, a car leaving the pit lane. That could get interesting. Oh, yeah, that's going to cause a bit of an upset. John Williams goes in deep. Werner S can't capitalise on it, though. And still, that BMW remarkably stays in front. He's doing a great job.
Ivo Linden now under pressure from James Slates, who's having a good, from Dito Vlaminck, I should say, in that Porsche. Round the outside of the Curva Grande, looking to go to the inside again, but won't be able to do it, as Thomas Dandridge is up the inside of Taylor Lane here, who will have a bit of damage, of course, from all of the contact he got into on that one particular lap for him. Dandridge is going to look to the inside, he's going to be shown the outside, actually, into the Parabolica by the looks of things. So that damage is not helping the aerodynamics of that BMW, although dives very deep under brakes, does Taylor Lane. It's a smoother, nicer, cleaner run around the outside for Thomas Dandridge, and he should be fine there, although Taylor Lane will come in anyway, and Ethan Bass will now maybe try and go through. But we've already seen four drivers from Pro come into the pit lane, and that was Michael Patterson, as I said at the time, just coming out in front of John Williams there, who just had a bit of damage himself. That was down to the concertina that went on early on in the race here, especially in AM. So that all got very interesting, but this group is by far the closest in the field, and it contains a real lot of drivers just waiting to see when these AMs decide to come in, because despite the fact they're in such a big battle, none of them really want to do it now. Let's see if they do this time.
We'll have to see who decides to come in. Here comes David Camano, same with John Williams, James Slayer, Dito Vlaminck, and I think that is it from those in the AMs on this lap. But yeah, a lot of people waiting a little bit longer, maybe trying to overcut the pack or undercut the pack. Well, definitely not undercut the pack, but definitely trying to overcut the pack, go a little bit long, or just pit when everyone else does, as I say, to keep the slipstream, keep a partner. But again, we'll have to see how it happens. The pit strategy, even if it is only one stop in a 50-minute race, not so much the degree of an endurance race in terms of pit strategy, but it can still certainly make a couple of upsets, and we just have to wait and see how it funnels out in a few laps' time.
Absolutely. Timo McKeown, by the way, now tuned in and cheering for his teammate Jarmo Sastamoinen, and why not at this stage? He's in a good place as Jonas Dreyer makes his way through on Felix Pearl for 6th place in the pro category. Robin Kjellberg has no reason to come in just yet, and no traffic really around him either, but when the AMs start coming in, he might find himself in a bit of traffic, although the circuit is long enough for that not to really be a problem here. Them Slates at the moment is just about in the first sector, completing the first sector right now, so he should be absolutely fine in terms of traffic, even despite those pit stops. Jeremy De Boiver was also in, by the way, we didn't mention it at the time, but he has got up the order. Excuse me, he came in a couple of laps early, and it really has benefited him here. He wasn't involved in all that fighting, we were just watching De Boiver, and now he's right behind David Camano, I think, who himself has had a longer stop there, or a bad time through pit lane anyway, and now he's involved behind John Williams, so everybody's still behind John Williams, of course. However, Jeremy De Boiver with that stop has really shot himself up the order a little bit in AM.
Well, we'll have to see how well he does. Of course, doing a great job in both the championship and all the pro guys pushing the limit on the exit of the Roger there. You can see the dust being kicked up as they run into the gravel very, very slightly with their left wheels. But here's the fight in Ivo Linden on the back of Vanna S and Gus. Ivo Linden on the back of Vanna S and Gus Franken a few seconds back. But yeah, Ivo Linden recovering well after his spin on lap 1. He's catapulted himself back up the grid, and still with the pit stop cycle as well to funnel his way out, he could still certainly be a dark horse in this race, at least maybe for a podium place. But yeah, a circle like Monza where there's so many variables, you know, the slightly less corners, less time, less opportunities to make that time up, the slipstream keeping everyone slightly faster. The pit strategy is just exaggerated. Of course, we do see it week in, week out how it can upset things, but even more so at Monza. And yeah, well, it's going to be very, very interesting indeed, as De Boiver is going to want to make some progress on Camano quickly, just to have more of that clear air, because they've got a bit of a gap to John Williams in front, and once he gets past him, if he can get past him, that's going to be a really good, nice bit of open gap for De Boiver to use.
It is, but let's see. The guys that obviously now who are out there will probably just run that tank dry at this point, because now there's two groups of cars who are basically running in a line, trying to help each other out almost at this stage, and that's the way you have to play it until we do see it close up again. Although David Camano is just losing a little bit of time here to John Williams, just up in front, and so that's not ideal for the likes of Jeremy De Boiver, Peter Vlaming, etc. They need it a little bit more here at the moment. Now Sastamoinen goes past the line again, and Harry Wills gets to the lead. Albin Kjellberg has asked to relinquish that now. It looked like he didn't really want to fight over it, but at least Kjellberg is involved with this leading group now. With the slipstream, he should be able to stay involved with it as well.
You would expect so. That has been a theme with the slipstream. Sean Campbell as well is on the back of this train. Alex Ringer a couple of seconds back, of course, did have that off on the exit of the Roger with a bit of a run-in, I think, with Taylor Lane a little bit earlier on. And yeah, well, that is how it happens sometimes. It's been he has, for the entire season before the break week, he had pretty much a clean slate in terms of incidents. He comes into Donington and then today at Monza, and he's had a couple of crashes across the both of them. Still running very, very well though, still within a chance definitely of at least a podium is Alex Renger. He's done a great job, and you can see Kjellberg is pushing the limits, braking so late into Parabolica, trying to put the pressure back onto Harry Wills and stay in touch with the slipstream, but soon he's going to have probably the worst duo in his mirrors. Yeah, there's on the grid, there's not many people you would not rather see in your mirror than Sean Campbell and Alex Renger.
Yeah, you don't really want to see that if you have any design on holding on to your place. Anyway, as these guys will now start catching a little bit of lap traffic now with the AMs, purely because they haven't stopped yet. However, because of the blue flags, it might not be as much of a problem as we've seen for the likes of Thomas Cope, who had to make his way through on the legitimate AM cars. Or he had to make his way through on Dean Timms anyway. I'm not sure if he had to do anything else with that regard. I know he's actually still behind Dean Timms, so he has just held where he is at the moment. Not sure whether he's really going to gain here. Dean Timms does come into the pit lane now. We've got to be getting towards those pit stops though, because of course these cars are limited to 50% of their normal fuel rate, and so that would get you to about half an hour, especially at Monza, which is such a fuel heavy circuit.
Indeed, you spend a lot of time at the top end of your rev range. The slipstream will help a little bit, maybe a couple of drivers doing a bit of lifting coast as well in the train. which again will help them save a bit of fuel. But yeah, it's certainly not going to be ideal by any means. You can see Harry Wills flash in the back markers to say, get out of my way. He is on course maybe to take a win here today, and he doesn't want any back markers to get in the way of that. It's going to be a tough ask, because he's got Albon Kjellberg, Sean Campbell soon, maybe even Alex R.A.W.S in the mix for this one. And yeah, well, he comes to blows with Sean Campbell in race 1, and hopefully for him he's not going to see a repeat of that, because, well, after Harry Wills' misfortune, his bad luck, his sort of sometimes lack of consistency, it would be lovely to see him towards the sharp end.
Certainly would, as we do get the leaders now in 1, 2, 3 and 4. Oh, side by side as well, with Campbell alongside Kjellberg here, going down the pit lane. Everybody's in here, so it looks like lap 20 is the limit. Excuse me, lap 19 looks like the limit. And we just got on to lap 20 as they all dive for their pit box now. R.A.W.S. may well do the same here in Am, as he is on the same lap here, despite the fact it may look a little bit confusing at times. We'll see whether he gets out in front of Dean Timms or not, who's the first car to have pitted so far here in this race. Into the final corner for the current leader of this Am race. Trying to hold on to what would be a surprise but famous victory for him. Comes into the pit lane. So now we're really going to get a view as to, firstly, where Thomas Coper's ended up, as Kjellberg has had a good stop there. He's gotten in front of Harry Wills, who's lost 2 places. So Wills has had a slower stop then, no doubt, as Alex R.A.W.S is having a painfully long stop. He's down outside the top 10 by the looks of things. He's got some damage to repair after the contact with Taylor Lane.
Oh no, Alex R.A.W.S, I mean, understandably so, it was a fairly sizable whack into the barrier off the exit of the Roger, but that is going to kill to be sat there for so long. Finally is able to pull out of his pit box, but he's outside the top 10. It's a big drop in points, especially. It might well be his drop round today. I'm not entirely sure how that will work out. It probably will be, yeah. Which still, he gets back a good chunk of points from Donington, so it's not all doom and gloom, but certainly not what he would want to see. This is Sean Campbell to the inside of Kjellberg, to the Roger, fighting still for this race lead between himself, Kjellberg and Wills. Does indeed get that, but can he branch away? We've seen how strong the toe is and how hungry both Kjellberg and Wills will be for this win.
Absolutely. Going to be a great fight from here on in. As things stand, if the race were to end right now, Campbell would gain 11 points in terms of the round overall. It's hard to know where it goes from the end of race 1 to now, but either way, as Harry Wills makes his way through on Kjellberg, by the way, Sean Campbell will be gaining 11 points on the round as a whole, so it will come down to maybe about 10 points actually in the standings right now. However, Harry Wills is not going to let that one go easily, as Jarmo Sastamoinen has got out in the lead. Dean Timms right behind him. Kurt Hal Jensen, by the way, hasn't pitted, but then it's Werner Ace ahead of Ivo Linden and John Williams, so they have managed to get through. Linden and Ace have it anyway. Despite slightly longer stops, there is a bit of a fight going on there as well, so it's hard to know where to look at the moment. Less than 15 minutes to go, and Dean Timms on the attack right now, trying to take this race lead away.
Going to be massive for his championship as well. Didn't quite manage to get the most out of race 1 that he would have wanted to after a mistake into the Rettifilo chicane. He's going to try and bounce back in race 2 with a race victory, especially when the likes of Ivo Linder in P5 and Timothy Van der Brink is out of this race. You can see Timms to the right hand side for the race lead in towards the Parabolica. Has he got it stopped? Is he going to be able to hold the inside? Yes, he is. Sastamoinen has nothing to say to that one, unless he can get such a good drive coming off this final corner down the pit straight to launch the counter attack. Dean Timms into the race lead, but is it going to stay?
I think he might settle for second here, because if he stays behind, then he'll get guaranteed second place, and I think that's what he's trying to indicate by pulling to the left hand side here early, although he will get alongside and Dean Timms will lift off. I wonder whether he's trying to initiate some drafting and some help between the two of them. So Dean Timms will retake the lead here. Sastamoinen will remain in second, but I don't know what the play is going to be between the two with regards to who's going to lead when and whether they're going to exchange or what the deal is with that, as Sean Campbell leads at the moment. Very important for Harry Wills, by the way, a couple of months ago to get through on Kjellberg there. Now he's got free rein to try and take this race lead away, but as we saw in the first race, it's not easy to get through on Sean Campbell, and that's Harry Wills' experienced actually.
Yeah, he's going to have first-hand experience from it. Hopefully, maybe going to use that experience to actually aid him more in this second attempt of doing it. But yeah, Campbell, he said in the driver's chat, he's never fought harder for a P2. He's going to fight even harder than that for a P1. And we'll have to see how he can do. But Harry Wills on the back of him. He's not going to let him go. And well, he's going to want revenge for race 1.
Certainly is. There's no doubt about that. There's now a bit of defence from Campbell. Outside line for Harry Wills with Just under 12 minutes to go. He's going to try and take the lead right now. Outside for the first part, will give him the inside for turn 2. And Campbell will try and stay out there, and he hasn't been given the room by Harry Wills particularly, although it was a close one, hard to call as well. Although Campbell does hold on to second place, Harry Wills does indeed aggressively, admittedly, just get through to the lead.
Yeah, well, he wasn't going to give it our battle. He went for it, absolutely sent it. It came barreling down the outside. Sean Campbell saw him coming, gave him the space, but Harry Wills was significantly alongside, came back up the inside of turn 2. It is a tighter line and just does run Campbell out of room a little bit. Yeah, that you can give him a little bit more space. Kjellberg also tried to get himself ahead of Sean Campbell, but just found the rear end of that Lamborghini a bit too quickly. Harry Wills back into the race lead then, but it's still going to be a hard-fought fight. 10 minutes, well, more so 10 and a half minutes left to go in this race, and I'm convinced it's going to go down all the way to the flag.
Looks like it. These races have tended to here at Monza. Really monstering the curves there was Campbell. He's so close through Ascari. Wills maybe being a little bit more careful, and you can see how close Campbell is right now. He's going to pick up the slipstream. Is he going to even go for it into the parabolic, or is he going to try and push Harry Wills along? Let's see. Inside line looks to be the one for him, and he's going to try and make this unorthodox move work. Around the outside for Harry Wills. He's going to stick this one out very well, actually, with Kjellberg really now getting involved as well. He tucks himself right in underneath Campbell at the moment. He's going to try and maybe make a move himself. Is he going to take it free wide right to the outside maybe? He does want to take this free wide at the moment. Wills will pull across Campbell, who hasn't got a great run. Kjellberg has got the best of everybody. He goes to the outside into turn 1 and 2. He takes the race lead as well. He takes the race lead back. What a fantastic move that is. Unexpected one admittedly, but he seized the opportunity when he saw those two in front of him battling, and he's taken the lead again.
In a race this close, you've got to do that. Exactly what Kjellberg has just done. Catapult himself back into the race lead. Can he hang on to it on this run towards the Roger, though? Is Harry Wills close enough to launch a move to the inside? He certainly thought about it, just having a look to the left-hand side. You can see Campbell so late, so committed on the brakes. He's got an excellent run coming off towards the first of the two Lesmos. Has he got a nose ahead in towards Lesmo 1? Not quite, but he's still there. Kjellberg, a fantastic last half a lap of this race. We're going to take another look. You can see Campbell a little bit swamped, pinched in, and then Wills doesn't have quite the run. Kjellberg just comes, and he's absolutely storming to the outside. He's so far ahead, commits on the brakes, says thank you very much, and well, he doesn't even need to give any space on the apex because he's already that far ahead. Brilliant stuff from the Mercedes.
It was a great move, and he's made a nice move there, but I said the same thing twice there, but I did. But yeah, Kjellberg is he's going to try and hold on from here. It's going to be so difficult. It's almost like a dice roll for these three now with regards to who's going to win, who has got the racecraft to take this. It's not really about pace anymore. It's about the racecraft, who's got their head screwed on with regards to that, and who's going to come out on top in this tactical battle as we come across the line towards 5 laps to go. Just over 8 minutes and 5 laps by the looks of things to go in this race. Maybe more, we'll wait and see. Harry Wills is going to get the slipstream here, and Campbell's not really going to want to do anything just for the moment because he doesn't want to break this group apart, so he's got to let Harry Wills try and give Kjellberg a whole hard time here into turn 1. Outside for the first part, gives you the inside for the second, although I think he's tentative after what happened with Campbell last time. He gives a bit more room. Kjellberg doesn't get a great run though. He gets into the gravel slightly. Harry Wills is going to get through, and Campbell is going to try and follow through, although it's a long way around the Curva Grande, and there's slight contact between the two. Kjellberg going to get the slipstream here, and he might want to take the race lead again. He trucks to the outside, very nearly contact again. Outside line into the De La Roggia. He won't go for it just there.
It can so easily. He went from the race lead, nearly fell to 3rd in this train. He might actually well do. Campbell gets a much better launch off the exit in towards Lesmo 1. Side by side between the two. Kjellberg's not going to give this one up. Might be full. The AstroTurf indeed does. Campbell gives absolutely nothing and gets himself in a 2nd place. Still in the slipstream of Harry Wills. Both of them run a little bit wide off the exit. They have to press forward. They cannot fight now. Harry Wills does not need any more margin than he already has. But with only 7 minutes left to go in this race, they're giving it an absolute amazing fight. Kjellberg back to the inside in towards Ascari. Has he got this move done, or is Campbell going to sweep around the outside? Yes, he is. What a move between these guys, but meanwhile, it's not helping their case at all. Harry Wills branching away.
If Kjellberg wants to win this race, he should have stayed behind there through Ascari. And now you can see it started for Harry Wills. He's trying to break the slipstream, and he knows that he might well have done it already. The gap is about a second, and Campbell really needs to close in over the next few corners, over the next really few seconds, if he wants to get this gap back again. It's going to be so difficult for him to do that, though, as Wills just tries to break the slipstream in any way that he can. And if Kjellberg tries to make a move on Campbell here, then the race win might be his. Kjellberg is in the slipstream. Is he going to make the move? Campbell's going to be forced to defend. I think Kjellberg realises, and he has to stay behind for the minute.
He does. They need to press forward. Kjellberg, calm down. Use Campbell as the toe to get back onto the back of Harry Wills. You haven't got long left in this race. All you have to do is close the gap slightly, side by side. This is Thomas Cope to the inside of Jonas R.A.W.S. Gets himself, or Felix PL, sorry, gets himself up in a 6th place temporarily. Has to cut the chicane though. Will have to alleviate some time and let these guys back through at least. Felix PL is going to do that running wide through Curva Grande, but yeah, still very, very tight. Ethan Bass is going to say thank you very much and pip his way to the inside as well. Thomas Reiter on the inside of Thomas Cope, and all it takes is that small mistake, a similar one that we saw from Dean Timms in race 1 as well, and it's so costly.
Kjellberg's small mistake down there at turn 1's really cost him. It snowballed into a few others, and now it's going to be 2 for the lead. So Campbell has gotten rid of Kjellberg, and that might not be a bad thing for him, as long as he can get into the slipstream of Harry Wills here. And I think he may well have done. It looks like he just about has the pace to do this at the moment. Let's not forget that if Campbell can make this move, he might be able to close this championship margin to around 11 points. We'll have to do the maths, of course, because it is a little bit more complicated than that. But I believe it would be 10 points, actually, at the end of this race, if he can win. If not, then obviously it will be 13. If doing the, 14 even, doing the maths at home. But Campbell has got a lot of work to do between now and then if he's going to do this. 3 laps to go as they go over the line right now. And I think Campbell has just got the slipstream back again, but it was close to losing it.
Very, very. That could have been race winning chance ended for both Campbell and Kjellberg. Kjellberg might actually be out of it. Is he out of his rhythm? Can he stay with these two? This is Werner S going round. He was in a good place in the AM category. We'll take a look at how this one happened in a close fight. That's with Simon Dodd and the BMW and Linden. Was it by himself? He's not really side by side. Gets himself back to the inside of Simon Dodd, but I think in the attempt of trying to give Dodd some space on the outside, just unfortunately looped it around by himself. And yeah, well, easily done, but it's a big shame.
Jeremy De Boiver might be able to gain from that as well. There's nothing that he can do anymore about his championship lead. He's going to lose that to Dean Timms today, but he can limit the damage. Ivo Linden also gaining points on Jeremy De Boiver as well, by the way, so it's arguably going to get even closer in the AM Championship. Harry Wills and Sean Campbell's battle is getting even closer right now as well. They're not in a title fight, the two of them. However, they are in US first of all, but they also are for this race victory right now as well. It's looking very, very tasty indeed, as Campbell is in the slipstream looking to make his mark on this race and try and take the lead, although he may just play this one tactically. He may just wait for the final lap, realising that second place might actually be the best place to be.
Easily, because yeah, he doesn't want to bring Kjellberg back into the mix. He saw how close that was to going wrong. He doesn't want an extra variable in the mix. He just wants a 2-horse race to the end on that final lap, and of course Harry Wills then can't launch a counter-attack if he gets him on the final lap. This is what happened with Thomas Reiter. Squeezed in towards the Roger under brakes and just looped himself around. Impressively actually got that going quite quickly, but that car will certainly have seen better days. We'll have to see if that is Campbell's plan though, down in towards T1, whether he looks spicy or not. A fastest lap though, 46.0. He's on an absolute mission. He wants to win this race, but it's going to be very, very close indeed. But as you say, his best bet, sit back, wait for the opportunity. Very brave on the brakes. He does know how to be committed, and that could be the way he seals the deal.
Both of these two drivers set their own personal bests on that last lap as well, by the way. I know it was the fastest overall there for Campbell, as Chatterton loses out to Jonas Dreyer there in the battle for fourth. Thomas Cope is into the pit lane here. Is that a drive-through penalty? It could be, because you get one for 17 incident points here in this race. As we look back from Harry Wills, can't quite get over those curves the way Campbell can, who might try and take advantage. Inside line for Lesmo 1 was open there, but he decides to go for the outside instead. That would be miraculous. Around the outside through Lesmo 1 and into Lesmo 2. He could have this move done. Oh, he goes around the outside as well, but he spins out. He gets contact with Harry Wills and he spins out. Kjellberg goes through as well. He flashes the lights and he's not happy with how that battle has ended up.
Oh my word, what is happening tonight for round 7 of this championship? It's been absolute scenes, absolute carnage, a great opportunistic sight from Campbell to saw his way around the outside. Both of them giving each other a wide berth, a lot of space for Campbell on the outside, using the limits of the track over that curb, gets himself ahead on the run in towards the second Lesmo. It's tricky to run side by side, but possible. But I think maybe more from R.A.W.S should have backed out here, really. I think maybe he tried to. Maybe a bit of netcode involved. It's marginal contact, but it's enough to ruin the race-leading offensive led by Campbell.
I'm entirely sure there wasn't even contact there, whether it was purely netcode or not, because that was... I don't know how to call that at all. It's going to be a controversial one. And Sean Campbell, unfortunately for him, has gone from potentially, with that move, going to 10 points behind R.A.W.S. Now he's 18 points behind, and that's a big difference. He has gained some, obviously, today, but it's nowhere near as much as he would have liked. And as we've learned from this race, from this season so far, these days for R.A.W.S don't come along too often. As Simon Dodd is trying to defend this third place from Ivo Linden, who makes his way around the outside for Ascari, and they both hit the wall. Ivo Linden was gaining points today until that moment, when Jeremy De Boiver is now going to be limiting the damage a bit more. Ivo Linden's poor day is unfortunately continuing.
Moments like that define a championship. And yeah, well, this fight started at the start of that lap. Ivo Linden to the inside. Simon Dodd relinquishes that place, but it's not going to end there. It's going to boil down all the way to this run to Ascari. It seemed to be a fantastic move from Linden. It looked like he got that one sealed. Simon Dodd usually in towards Ascari. The inside line is dominant, but Ivo Linden's given him a wide berth, and Dodd just understeers into him. Bit of contact, both of them round. And yeah, I mean, for Linden in a championship perspective, moves like that are always going to be risky. Simon Dodd wants to hang on to that position, whatever it takes. But yeah, for both of them, more so on Dodd there, it's a small mistake on one's part that can ruin the race for both.
Certainly can, as into the final corner right now is R.A.W.S from the lead of this race. 50 minutes have elapsed, the checkered flag is out, and R.A.W.S is going to win in the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship. It's a fantastic drive from him in the EU version of this championship. It's the first victory he's had this season. Kjellberg gets up to second with Sean Campbell in the pit lane. I think he's had to serve a drive-through penalty for incident limit on the last lap here, but I'm not sure whether that's going to count. I think he may drop back 29x. That is going to do it. Well, I say that, everybody's got more than 25x there, so I'm not entirely sure whether that was the case or not, but that's the only thing I can think of. In that case, it could become Sean Campbell's drop round, because he's not had a bad season either. If that continues the way it is, I don't think it will, although it could do still. I'm not entirely sure just for the moment. As Thomas Cope and Urenga come over the line, it certainly will be Urenga's drop week, but we'll have to do the maths on Sean Campbell's here at the moment, because the most points he's dropped in a singular round is only 11. Here today, he's dropped 13, so it will become his drop round as well. What a bizarre day here in this championship. Urenga does lose out, but in the end, it's only by 3 points.
Campbell wants to win this championship. He did. We talked about how he played second fiddle really to Alex Urenga over the course of the first part of the season. He wants to bounce back in the second. Today was a prime opportunity to get himself and recatalyze that championship charge, but unfortunately, he didn't quite be able to do so. Dean Timms reclaims the lead of the championship in the AMS as well with a win today in race 2 of round 7. A fantastic performance for Dean Timms to be able to, again, in a championship that is so close in the AMS, to be able to lead in such dominant fashion today really does make a statement.
It certainly does. What a fantastic couple of races that was as well. As we saw, Dean Timms coming over the line there to take victory in AM. That is not the first time he's won today, but it will be a championship lead for him, as he has in the US as well. Timothy van der Broek comes over the line. He's the final driver to finish this race, and is limited the damage the best he can after getting involved in an incident on lap number 1. Harry Wills, though, was the victorious in Pro. In the results here, Kjellberg and Dreyer finished on the podium with Chatterton and Bass up into the top 5. Phillips Pio 6th ahead of Thomas Reiter in 7th, then Liam Ahern 8th, Michael Patterman, then Alex Urenga does get into the top 10. Thomas Copen, then Sean Campbell's 12th. So this will be his drop week by the end of all that. Stuart Reynolds, Thomas Drandridge and Taylor Lane all finished laps down. In the AM category, Dean Timms wins out here ahead of Yarmouth Astamoinen. John Williams did get onto the podium in the end ahead of Werner Ace. Jeremy De Boyver limits the damage as best he can, but he will drop to second in the championship. D.J. Vlaming 6th ahead of James Slates. Then David Camano in 8th position. Thomas Pugh 9th and Gus Franken rounding out the top 10. Dominic Goodsell is 11th ahead of Ivo Linden, who drops down to 12th place in those final moments. Kurt Hug Jensen, Simon Dodd and Stefan Schuster all finished a lap down. Timothy Vanderbroek a few laps down and got what he could from that one. Jorge Ferrer 17th ahead of Jasper Sharks, who didn't see the checker flag. Neither did Navarro de Boiva or Timo McKeown in that race there. Well, just before we sign off here tonight, we are going to bring in the race winners from Pro and Am here in race 2 because we've got a little bit of time today, so let's do that. Harry Wills joins us now from race victory here at Monza in that second race. Harry, I mean, it was all settled on the penultimate lap, you could argue, in that little incident with Sean Campbell. What was that incident like from your perspective?
I mean, it was netcode. I mean, we looked at it from a couple of different angles. The first thing I did when I got out of the car was to look at that and see what happened. And it's sad to say, it looks like a little bit of netcode. I don't think we'd have touched. I held it on as far right as I could. Quite sad, really. I was looking forward to a good old scrap with Sean on the last lap of that. And yeah, it was a fantastic race. It was hard work to save the fuel, and because I know those RSR boys are phenomenal at saving fuel. So I was able to save the fuel and get with them on strategy wise and have a go. So which was, it was all right. Enjoyed that one.
It was very enjoyable to watch indeed as well. I mean, this racing here is just so different to what we see anywhere else. I mean, there's so many straights and so much slipstream here that it makes it so difficult. What are those kind of pack races like to drive in, especially in the second race where you were in a very large train for a lot of that race?
Yeah, it's I think it's all about just biding your time and picking your moves when, it needs to be almost a done move before you reach the apex of the corner, so that you're not coming on corner exit side by side, because obviously, there's a massive gulf in talent across the two classes. And I think the safest way, if you're going to put a move on someone, is to pretty much get that move done and dusted before you reach the apex. But it's just, take your time, take it easy, pick your moves at the right moments. But that was a lot about fuel saving, and it was fuel saving, but trying not to let those guys get the jump. There was a big gap about halfway through the race, and I was umming and ahhing whether to stick the boot in and catch them or hold back and save the fuel. But it all worked out well in the end, so it was a good race.
It was certainly a good race indeed. Congratulations on the win tonight, Harry, and thanks very much for coming to chat to us.
Yeah, no problem. I thought I'd just say thank you very much for the work you guys put in. Obviously, I run the show at WSL along with my admins of Matt and Dean and a few others. So it's phenomenal work you guys do, and thank you very much for doing this week in, week out. It's really good. It's great to watch them back the day after or the day after that, and it's wicked. And thank you very much to all my drivers that compete in the series. It's great to see we pulling nearly 40 car grids on the 7th round. I think in regards as numbers, we've really stuck with it. So big thanks to everyone for taking part, and thank you guys for calling it.
Absolutely, it's been an absolute pleasure indeed, Harry. Thanks very much for running everything here and coming to have a chat to us as well here. Tonight. We'll also chat to AM winner Dean Timms, also behind the scenes at WSL, I guess. But Dean, we'll chat about the race. I mean, it was a very interesting one in AM overall, but you weren't involved in a lot of it. What was that race too like in terms of the opening laps anyway, trying to make your way through the opening lap chaos, which did unfortunately kick off a little bit into turn 1?
It did. I don't think I've worked that hard in a race for a long time. I really had to work for it. I didn't let up for the entire race. It was just trying to put in hot lap after hot lap and avoid everything that was going on. It's so busy. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it was a very busy race indeed. I mean, I'll ask a question to Harry as well, but I'll ask it to you as well. What is the racing like around here at Monza because of the slipstream and the way that cars stay so close together?
Yeah, I mean, I messed up in race one. I put a couple of clicks too much wing on, and that was to my detriment. I couldn't get any pass done on John Williams. So this race, run low wing, and if you're in tow, just try and save a bit of fuel, keep your tyres cool, and then when if you can get a chance where you can make a move that it compromises the guy, another driver's exit, so that you can get away. I think that's key, because if you don't and they're back in your slipstream, then they're just attacking you again. So you have to think when you make a pass and when to make it as well, because I mean, like I said, if you make a pass at the wrong place, they'll just get you back again. So
absolutely, it's been a very difficult race for everyone, I'm sure. But congratulations on the victory here in race 2, and yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you again over the next few weeks.
thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks very much. Dean Timms victorious here in at Monza. Well, that's just about going to do it for us here tonight. Zach, it's been 2 very enjoyable races indeed, I have to say. It's been a bit chaotic at times, but very, very exciting as well.
Yeah, well, it's the perfect recipe. Monza, Temple of Speeds, just fan favorite, driver favorite. It's just one of those circuits that you can't not have a good race. It's just the perfect recipe. Straights, braking zones, and today proved how well you can race around Monza. Sometimes, as we said, it is kind of difficult to overtake, but once you do get those moves fabricated, you just don't stop fighting, and it was just so fun today. All the drivers on the grid did a fantastic job of keeping it clean for the most part, giving us some fantastic action, and we saw some brilliant moves, brilliant racing as well, and a couple of really well-deserved winners. So yeah, well, again, as I say, the standard is always set high with this championship.
Absolutely, and it's been set very high for the US guys to go up as well. A few hours' time until we go live for that one, so make sure you join us for that as well. It's going to be an enjoyable night of racing there as well. But for now, from the EU side of things, we will sign off. I've been Neil O'Leary, Zach Sweeney has been alongside me, David Christie has been behind the cameras, and until we see you in a few hours' time for the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship US version, we will see you later. Goodbye for now.